I'm Anthony with HaslichNet, and you are watching 10 Questions. Today I am with Richard, the creator of Top Hat Gaming Man. So, hey, Richard, what's up?
Hi there, good afternoon. How are you doing?
So, I have 10 questions for you. These questions, I have used them for years, actually a couple of decades, so I'm old. So, we're going to get right into it. And the first question is, what entertained you while you were growing up?
Oh, many things entertained me whilst I was growing up. One of the biggest things, obviously, being games, hence why I've got a bloody gaming channel. I was really into a lot of kid shows, like many children, massive fan of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I really loved professional wrestling as well, which also ties into my backstory.
So, what made you decide to start a YouTube channel?
A lot of factors went into this, and I've probably answered this question different depending on the mood I've been in when asked. So it's a lot of factors, I suppose. If we go way back to when I was in my early teens, no, even further back than that, actually, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and my father used to let me play with his video camera and make little home movies and stuff, and he actually used to teach me how to edit these videos using mixer boards and linking two VCR players together. When I got to about 15 or 16, I then started doing that on my own with my friends, and by the time I was 19, I actually went on to study video production whilst I was in college. So video production was something I was always into, and in the background of all of that as well, I obviously used to play like a hell of a lot of games, but this was like way before YouTube, so I'd never put those two hobbies side by side at any point. Moving on from that, when I was at university, a local wrestling school started up, and obviously I was a big fan of professional wrestling, and it was something I always wanted to try out, and that's why I actually developed the persona in which I portray my YouTube videos, which is a Top Hat Gaming Man. Back then, the character was known as Richard Parliament, and the whole thing was the UK's only wrestler slash politician. So I would go up and down the country, behaving really snootily, basically telling all these people in these working class towns exactly what they didn't want to hear. And once again, I always liked gaming, always liked video production. And as I got a bit older, I realised I could just marry up all of these hobbies together into one thing, and that's essentially how the Top Hat Gaming Man was born. It was made of a combination of what I'd learned in pro wrestling, my penchant for loving games, and obviously the video production as well. So it was marrying those three interests together into one thing.
Wow, we got a lot in common. My brother and I used to do we would use video game footage recorded on the VCR. We thought it was so cool. Kind of wish there was YouTube back in 1992.
Yes.
But yeah.
Well, I say that I don't know what I would have uploaded. That's the only thing. So I'm glad in one respect.
Okay, so when did your YouTube channel premiere?
2016. So just over 4 years ago now. Just over 4 years ago.
And you're how many viewers do you have off chance? Like I think you have somewhere near 400,000 subscribers or something.
Oh no, I'm nowhere near that size. I'm set to break 60,000 probably next month. This month 60,000. I get 60,000 this month.
60,000. Okay. Wow. Because your viewer numbers are pretty good for 60,000.
Oh yes, I look on Social Blade regularly. I don't know. Are you familiar with Social Blade at all?
I use it for statistics.
Yes. So if you look at my statistics for a 60,000 subscriber channel, I'm doing pretty good, really. So yeah. If I can compare myself to channels double, triple my size, and I'm still pulling in the same viewing figures, which is lovely. Obviously.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So what was your initial YouTube channel offerings?
Originally, what did I do? I started out by portraying the Top Hat Gaming Man gimmick, which was the same gimmick from pro wrestling, which was behaving really snootily. And my original concept was I wanted to review some of the rarer, more expensive games in my collection, and the joke was that I had all of these expensive games, and it was funny to rub that in people's faces. So that was the gimmick. So like, I had a copy of Earthbound and you've not. So that was the original gimmick of the channel.
So, what trends have you seen change with your content since starting your YouTube channel?
Well, I realised quickly early on that YouTube is obviously very different to pro wrestling, and the audience aren't so clued up when something's necessarily a joke or not, or whether something's when someone's being a character. It's harder because obviously with pro wrestling, it's very clear that if someone's portraying a villain, they're not a villain in real life. Where if you do that on YouTube, people seem to get very confused very easily. So I break character a lot more often on YouTube now than what I used to. Like, for example, what I'm doing now. And so can you repeat the question? Sorry about that.
You covered it.
One thing and gone on to the next.
Tangents, yeah. So based on that, I assume that is what brings people to your YouTube channel now, because I found your channel because you do some great documentary work. And then you had this, there was this store, I think in the UK, where they were basically charging people complete in-box prices for basically just a disc and a fake cover.
Oh, the CX thing. Yeah, so basically it's been quite an organic experience, really. Another reason, which I didn't touch on earlier, about why I got into YouTube, because as I said, I was a wrestler for 10 years solid, basically, working the British indie circuit. And I hit 30 years old. And I just started to get a bit worried about if I get one small injury, I'm not going to be able to pursue my interest any further. So I was desperately looking for something extra to do with my time. And so that's essentially one of the key factors and catalysts that resulted in me starting the channel. So I mentioned earlier what I was doing, first of all, on the channel. But past that point, I kind of just rolled with the punches, like what was working, what wasn't working. I noticed early on that I would get a lot more views if I made videos about specific hardware rather than individual games. So for a good while, my content began focused on documentary style content, like you mentioned, on consoles, because that's what people were really looking for. And again, a lot of stuff just happens organically. Like you mentioned what happened with CEX, and literally I just went in there one day, bought a game, got home, and noticed that on the inside of the inlay, they had printed their own logo, essentially admitting that they were making reproduction inlays and selling their games. Like, obviously, in this country, that's completely illegal. And thankfully now, if you go into a CX, you'll find that the reproduction covers they use say reproduction in writing on the front of them, which I like to think was partially due to the videos I made and the attention it brought, and then obviously all the other YouTubers covering the same topic as well. So yeah, that's how the CX thing happened. And if the content is just kind of organic, I move with what works at the time.
Because I do enjoy, you have this nice fighting series going on right now. I just saw the, what was it? It was Tekken. No, it was the Sega's fighting game, whatever one that was. Yes. And I remember I had it on the 32X because I had a 32X. I had a 32X CD, and I bought that game. I bought Knuckles Chaostix, and I bought Doom, and that is legit the only 3 games I've ever had in that system. So it's really good. Like, I need somebody to make a Sonic or a Knuckles Chaostix episode. I need that. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, I've got a big backlog of videos. I've probably made over 300 now. I have got, if you look, if you search Knuckles Chaostix and my name, I've got one. If you want to.
I'm going to look that up later. Okay.
Yeah, there is one there.
So, what changes do you have planned for your YouTube channel in the near future? Anything coming up? Like, I want to do a new feature, or perhaps you just want to vent. I see you doing live kind of discussions with some friends. Anything else you coming up with, or?
Again, it's just rolling with what works and what doesn't work. For discussion videos, I've knocked on the head for now, because when I look at my analytics, those videos have a lot less views than other content on my channel, but more importantly, the watch retention is much lower. So when I do a fighting game video or a beat 'em up video at the moment, the watch retention is a good 12 to 13 minutes on average in many cases, whereas the discussion videos, we're only getting a retention of about 4 minutes. So it's not something the majority of my audience want. So I like to experiment and try new things. So I would like to go up to 3 videos a month again as of a few weeks. I'm making a trip to Hungary. So I'm going to bring back my series Handhelds Around the World, where I review either a piece of hardware or a handheld game weekly for the duration of that month. So that's something different, which I'm changing up the pace with soon.
Okay. So what changes would you like to make if you had unlimited resources? I mean, talking unlimited money, unlimited assets. You could do whatever you want. What would you want to do?
See, there's two different ways I could answer that question. If it's no longer about the money and I'm just completely financially sound, then it would be a case of, I don't know, I just big budget Michael Bay ridiculous stuff, really. Explosions. That's what you do if with unlimited resources. But if it was to make as much money as possible, but still channel the soul of what I'm doing, then the case would be to hire a production team, maybe and then I oversee the production to maybe get out 7 videos a week as opposed to just 2 to 3. So I could have a beat 'em up day once a week, a fighting game day, a handheld day, a console day, stuff like that. If you know what I mean. So it depends in how you frame that answer.
Okay. So do you have any programming and other outlets other than YouTube? And where can people find out more about the content you have online?
Not really, to be honest. I use YouTube and I use Twitter primarily. They're the 2 main platforms I tend to use. So that's it. I'm going all guns blazing with just those 2 in terms of content I'm putting out on platforms.
Okay. So then finally, do you wish to mention anything else about your YouTube channel? I think I saw you had a Patreon.
I do indeed have a Patreon. Obviously, I am full-time on YouTube, so every little helps in making the videos. Obviously, the more I make on Patreon as opposed to through ad revenue, the more I can make content bespoke for my audience rather than trying to get as many views as possible on the greater platform. Does that make sense?
It does to me. I mean, especially with the new COPPA rulings, you really got to try to get what you can get when you can and where you can. So
yeah. It's just every little helps. It's
right.
That, really.
Exactly. Okay. So I would like to thank you for your time here. I appreciate the fact that you were willing to do this, and you were actually my first one of this new series. So if I could give you a trophy or something, I would. But thank you for coming on here, and I'm going to keep watching your videos. So I mean, they're just so great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Have fun with the Knuckles video.
Thank you for watching this video. We would also like to thank our contributors and patrons for supporting this video. If you wish to add to the discussion, post a comment below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. Thank you for checking out our content. Before you leave, please remember to click like and then subscribe. If you want to receive notifications, do not forget to enable them by clicking on the bell. Then afterwards, check out our social media at HaslageNet and our website at haslage.net.